All right. Well, I'm John Underwood, and I've been a photographer in Lafayette for about 36 years now. I started out originally as a photographer in the Navy in San Diego, which is not bad duty. I was there during Vietnam, so I still get the little pin. So I am a Vietnam veteran. I protected San Diego. But if you look, there are very few communists in San Diego, so you're very welcome. And that was all because of me. And when I got out of the Navy, I worked for IU for a little bit as a photographer, and then got the call to come up to Purdue, and I've been here ever since. My main job is a photographer at Purdue University. That's 99.9% of my income. And then I also have a studio across the street from the courthouse, and it's called the Perrin Building. At the bottom floor, there's a fountain gallery, I think they call it, and then there's Tinley Studios, which is a workout place, and then the third floor is a studio loft. But it's mostly, it's about half and half on charge, and do what I do just for my own enjoyment. It kind of makes up for having to photograph headshots at Purdue. So it's like, yeah, that was fun. Let me do something a little more creative. So it's a bit more of my creative outlet. But that's pretty much it. At Purdue, it's a little bit of all the sports are photographed by our department, and also the different catalogs come out of the different schools, the annual reports of the different schools. And if you walk into a building, they have portraits on the wall of the staff. Sometimes we shoot those, and now with digital, a lot of people have just been shooting their own. You can kind of tell if it's their own. There's usually a yellow light coming out from above, and ours are not. But that's kind of the very, very typical. A lot of weekends, even events. We do a lot of event photography. How about yourself?
I'm Michael Dick. I've been shooting for only 6 years. I subcontract into a studio that's freelance, and so I shoot whatever the studio wants me to shoot, or work that I bring into the studio myself. And that's anything from portraits, commercial work, like a lot of headshots. We also do a lot of event photography for Purdue, a lot of residential type of work, a lot of strip malls need photography quite a lot, actually, and yeah, then newborns and weddings.
I did go through a period where I shot weddings.
Yeah. I got into the studio, actually, kind of a product of the recession. I'm a college dropout, and so I bounced around doing a lot of things, and then the recession happened, and the studio that I was at had to let everybody go. And so my brother let me know that Dave was considering taking new people, and so I ran down there with my portfolio, basically being unemployed because it was the heart of the recession, and worked for very little for a while, and then eventually started taking my own clients. So that's my story.
I was going to ask you if you worked with Dave.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
But from when you were telling me, I thought, oh, I bet that was Dave you were working with.
Yeah.
So you're not with him now? You got your own place?
No,
You're still with Dave?
I'm still with Dave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice guy. So you shoot when he's out on the motorcycle?
Which is like all the time. Yeah.
I'm always envious because I also ride a motorcycle. But that's how I gave up weddings. I bought a motorcycle, and I was shooting in a church, and I hear it was a nice warm day outside, and I hear all these motorcycles going around. I thought, well, I've got one of those. I think I'd rather be out there. So, how many people here shoot weddings? Anyway, yeah. They're good pay, though. Especially, I shot weddings in the film days where you'd sit around the table and cut up your negatives and match them to the proofs. And then categorize them, label them, then send the proofs out. They come back and you find the negative, put it into a holder, send it off for printing, then assemble the album when it gets back for $400.
Do you still have negatives from weddings you shot?
They're in boxes in my basement, and I think they're still. If you shoot, it's kind of like your digital. I'm sure everybody out here has a lot of hard drives are just chock full of images that you just can't delete. I had never thrown negatives away, and had gotten divorced, moved from a couple places, and I thought, God, he's carrying these tubs and tubs of negatives. So I thought, I got to start throwing these away. And I found a tub that, I mean, the weddings had been like 15 years ago, and that surely to God nobody's going with these. So I trashed it. I'm going to try this. I'm throwing one box away. I swear to God, a week later, I got a phone call. You know, you saw my wedding. Oh, it's been 15 years ago. Oh, shit. So, there you go. Fortunately, there's no legal ramifications from throwing away negatives, but I said, no, I don't have them. And, are you still married? Well, congratulations. Take new photos. Those are old. You should have stored them better. So,
how did you take the plunge? You kind of already answered a little bit, but how did you take the plunge from not being a professional photographer into full-time professional photography, being able to make your money and live off of it?
you want to follow up on yours? Or?
Sure, yeah. Well, I had zero options. So like, for me, like, I was already boomeranged back home, like living with my parents, like totally ashamed about my life. And so like, the drive for me was like immediately sink or swim. It was like, you either make this happen or you're going back to restaurants and waiting tables. Like there was no other option. And so I just forced it to work. Like, I got out there, I met people, I took work and threw it out on social media. I made sure everybody knew that I was available for hire. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise that like, I didn't have any other options. Like, cause if I don't know how someone can leave a job where they make more than $50,000 a year. Like, I've never made more than $50,000 a year. I wouldn't even know what to do with that much money. And so, yeah, it's just, you have to have that hunger to do it. Otherwise you won't. So it's just, it is kind of, at some point you have to just kind of take the leap and jump and do it. Otherwise it will never happen. Because there's countless ways to make money. If you're looking to make money, you're in the wrong field. So yeah.
Well, I don't think you really should get into it just to make the money, though. I mean, if you had to kind of have the passion for it. But yeah, you're right. But some people do make incredible money.
Well,
so
sure.
I have
sure.
just people ask me like of their son. They're like, they expect me to talk them out of it. It's like, I just want to be a photographer. You know, like, can you talk him out of it? I okay. You know, so yeah, I've actually had it a number of times, and you know, and I'll tell them like, well, I have a friend of mine that a couple of years ago, my daughter was a studio manager, and he brought in his take-home pay was, and but he works in Chicago and he shoots all commercially. I know other people making $20,000, so you got to be in there somewhere. But a lot of hard work, very hard work. And I actually started in high school. I wasn't as early as you, although I did shoot like a little brand camera in Boy Scouts. I got a merit badge. I'm not sure if that's going to count or not, though. But it was in high school. I decided that's what I wanted to do, and then when I got out, I went to a private school in Louisville, Kentucky. I only stuck with that for about a semester. It was fine art, and there was a huge difference between commercial and fine art photography. And if anybody, so I just remember one day we were supposed to go out in this field and write down our emotions towards this rock. Thought I could use a nap because I was working at a Ramada Inn from about 8 o'clock at night till like 3 in the morning. So you know that restaurant works a bitch, and so I thought, you know, this is just stupid, and I wanted to know how to light glassware. And so I did a semester, and I came back to my hometown and worked for my home. I found there was a hometown photographer there that allowed me to come in. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll clean up your place if you'll let me watch you work. And I already knew how to process film, so I also did his film processing. And then I thought, well, this is going nowhere. So I just had heard that I'd read, there's a magazine called Peterson's Photographic, and it was like the hottest magazine. It's kind of like Photo District News now. I guess is that still the hottest magazine now, or is that kind of gone defunct? Does anybody take Photo District News? It's actually a very good publication. But I read that one of the best schools in the country was the U.S. Navy Photo School in Pensacola. And I thought, huh, and they would pay me. So I went down and my recruiter and said that, hey, I want to be a photographer. Can you guarantee that if I join up, I can be a photographer? And they had just started with this Vietnam going on. They had started this program that, hey, you can come in, we'll guarantee you a school if you will join. And I go, okay. So I had to take some tests. There's a certain aptitude you had to have, which, by the way, a photographer in the Navy had to have a higher score than the medics, which scared the hell out of me when I got in there and met the other photographers. I did not go to the medic. So I got, that's how I kind of really got my big start. I went to the Navy schools, and the Navy was really a lot of fun. If you know anybody that wants to be a photographer, they can actually get something like that going. They do have excellent schools, and now it's a lot like a lot of the video and mass media and so forth in there. So that's, and then from there, I got out and went for the universities, worked for universities. So that's pretty much it. I worked for Barbizons for a while. Anybody heard of Barbizons?
Yes.
John Robert Powers? Yeah, I worked for them for a little while. Shot the way. Because I think as a photographer, you just kind of scrape around and you're like, oh, okay, if they'll pay me, I'll shoot it. Except for babies. It's a different ball game. Then I'll give your card out.
I did that. I worked for Interstate Studios.
Oh my God.
Like,
paid your dues at a young age.
Yeah, it's like yearbook photography, and I'll tell you what, that was really, really good training. Because I mean, you're shooting 500 kids a day. Like, you learn how to work quickly, like set up your lights and tear down, and you're doing that every single day over and over again. And you're working with people where nobody wants you there. The teachers don't want you there, the kids don't want to have their picture taken. Like, the teachers want to do their job, they want to be teaching, but you have to be there because you're making money for the school. And so yeah, you're constantly in a hostile environment, and so it was very educational. Like, every shoot is easy compared to yearbook photography. Nothing is that hard.
That sounds pretty. By the way, I like the idea you've got the old photographer and the young photographer. I sat down here, I thought, well, that's a kind of a cool thing. This is, yeah, very
interesting
nice.
dynamic.
Yeah. That was pretty neat. Yeah.